Daring Abroad is brought to you by our friends at Remitly. Download the Remitly app to send money back home.
Hello there and welcome to the show. I know you are eager to know what we've prepared for you in this series that normally takes you around the world without a visa. And this is what is coming up. Meet Kenyan gynecologist in the UK, Dr. David Ogutu.
The main thing I've learned from this place is the rule of law.
Dr. Ogutu sheds light on the do's and don'ts in the UK for medical practitioners.
For me as a doctor, I cannot prescribe medication for my daughter or for my wife or for myself. I have to get someone else to prescribe for me.
On our back home segment, the role of the National Cooperatives Housing Union, NACHU, in providing affordable housing in Kenya.
In the last 5 years, we have been able to put more than 5,000 house units.
Alex, karibu. This is Hearts and Essex Fertility Center. This is our reception area. Our motto is think positive. Yes, we do. Yeah, we do think so.
Dr. David Ogutu is a consultant and a gynecologist at Hearts and Essex Fertility Center in the UK. He is Kenyan born. He went to medical school in Kenya, then moved here in the UK in the year 2001. That is about 20 years ago. He specializes in obstetrics and gynecology.
I was born in Kisumu. My ancestral home is in Siaya, a place called Ramula, a place very close to my heart and my family's heart. I was born to teachers. My dad was a school teacher and later on a college principal. My mom was a primary school teacher. So very, very education passionate from a big family of 7.
They didn't influence you to become a teacher?
No, they did not. And I did not intend to do medicine as well. I always wanted to be an engineer. But went to a very good school, Gynecologist High School in Kisii, which has always produced very many doctors. But in the year before I did my KCSE, none of the candidates made it to medical school who wanted to go into medicine. And I was given the 3-whip line by the head teacher that you have to go for medicine because you're our hope to get someone to medical school next year. So in those days, you did what you were told. I was called to medical school, but spent a year trying to change because I didn't think it was for me. I didn't know a single doctor in my life, never been to a doctor before. I didn't know what it was like. But many years later, here I am.
Medical school you've been in, medical school is what?
University, Moi University.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The medical school.
The medical school, yes.
And then what happened after you completed your medical school?
So I completed my medical school. I had a year working as a medical intern at Kenyatta Hospital. So in those days you had to do an internship. And my late further, when I graduated from medical school, one thing that's always stuck with me is I was very relieved to finish this grueling course. And he told me that this is just the beginning of your journey. This is not the end of it. You should aim to be the best doctor you could ever possibly be. That struck with me that I have to specialize in a field in medicine. When I finished the internship at Kenyatta, there was also problems with doctor strikes. There was no admissions or sponsorship to go and specialize in Kenya. And I read Reader's Digest article one day about this professor in the UK called Kypros Nicolaides. He was doing some fantastic work with fetal medicine, doing surgery on babies before they were born. And I thought, that is where I want to go to specialize. So that was what got me to sell everything I had, save as much as I could, and get an air ticket to the UK to specialize.
According to Dr. Ogutu, getting your way abroad can be tricky and one must have a plan, and it works easily when you have a shoulder to lean on.
I was lucky to have an elder brother who was working and living in London at that point. So I had a base, someone to come and live with. So all I had to do is get a license to practice in the UK. You have to come in, first of all, do some English exams. They got to prove that you can speak and write and listen in English. So you have to do an English qualification exam in Nairobi. Once you pass that, then you can apply for an examination called a PLAB examination. So it is a medical examination to confirm that you've got the knowledge and skills to work as a doctor here. So I had to come and do that in the UK, and once you pass the first and then a second part of it, then you're eligible to apply for a license.
Although Dr. Ogutu got the license easily, it was not a walk in the park upon arrival in the UK. He says it was not easy to get a job related to his career, and at some point he worked as a receptionist at a hostel.
You needed to have had a job offer before you can get a GMC, the General Medical Council license. But most jobs wanted someone who has UK experience and GMC registration. So we're in this middle place where for a whole year you're sending on average 10 applications out every day, and regret letters, if you're lucky, would come back to say on this occasion you're not selected. But luckily, almost a year later, my first job interview out in Newcastle, and I got a job. So once you get the job, then it opened up the GMC registration.
So when exactly did you become a gynecologist? When did you specialize?
So the specialization, the medical school in Kenya was meant to be 6 years, with a year's strike. It ended up being 7 years. So we finished that, a year internship. And then when we came to the UK to specialize, that takes 7 years. So you work for 2 years as a grade called a senior house officer. When you finish that, then you get 5 years in a grade known as a registrar. So during that 7 years, you're working, but there's examinations you need to do to pass. There are logbooks of procedures you perform that need to be signed off. And eventually, when you've met all the requirements, which is you passed your exams, your logbook and training is complete, then you get to get a consultant job. Came in 2001, and it took until 2011 to be a consultant.
Now, meaning now you are specialized as a gynecologist?
Yes, yes.
Dr. Ogutu has worked for various hospitals in the UK.
I resigned from the National Health Service in 2016. So since 2016, I'm fully in private healthcare, which is at Hearts and Essex Fertility Center, and also do general gynecology at a local hospital, BMI Cavell Hospital in London.
So you're employed basically here?
I'm employed here. I'm the medical director at Hearts and Essex, and then I've also got my own private practice at BMI Cavell Hospital.
So private practice, you do what exactly private?
So my main private practice is fertility, but also fertility sparing surgery. So mainly minimal access or keyhole surgery for fibroids, ovarian cysts, endometriosis, things like that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And here exactly what happens?
Yeah, so this is a fertility clinic. So we see couples who are having difficulties conceiving, either because of a male factor or sperm factor or an egg factor. We see single women or same-sex girls who need fertility treatment with donor sperm. We have a donor sperm bank here. We see same-sex men who need to have treatment through surrogacy. So we are one of the biggest surrogacy center in the UK. So we provide all the fertility treatments available, which is IVF, ICSI, IUI. We have a donor sperm bank. We have an egg bank, and we also perform some reproductive surgery here. So things like hysteroscopy to enhance fertility. So in the UK, there's a regulator known as the Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority, the HFEA, which is very strict, and there's very strict laws about what you can and what you cannot do. Now, the license prohibits us from paying people for their sperm or for their eggs. So the people who donate sperm or eggs, they do the donation voluntarily to help out. We're allowed to compensate them for their time For egg donors, we can compensate the egg donors to a maximum of £750, not more than that. For the sperm donors, it is much less, but you be able to compensate them for the time, transport, and things like that.
But
so
that can be seen as payment.
It's not payment, it's meant to be altruistic or voluntary, which works very well in this country because you get people donating for the right reasons as opposed to donating for money. If it's donation for money, there could be an element of exploitation there, but where someone is donating because they are aware that there's a shortage and they want to help out. I think the oldest woman who's had fertility treatment with donor eggs had a baby at almost 70, not in this country. So in this country, most clinics would not treat women with donor eggs beyond their 50th birthday. In our clinic, our cutoff is 50, because as a woman gets older, she can carry a pregnancy, but there's a higher risk of pregnancy complications for them. So over 50, higher risk of diabetes, blood pressure problems, higher risk of things like preeclampsia. So it's more complicated. So the fact that it is scientifically possible does not mean you should be able to do anything.
Dr. Ogutu says one of the lessons to be picked from the UK is the rule of law and regulation, emphasizing that without regulation, services like test tube fertilization can be chaotic.
Where there's no regulation, you find that there's most likely people being paid to donate, and where there's no regulation, there's a potential to exploit patients. Now, India was the leading surrogacy center in the world for a long time, but they realized that their population was being exploited to carry pregnancies for people from richer parts of the world, and they've stopped it. So in India, you cannot have surrogacy unless you're an Indian citizen. Now, that market has all moved to Kenya. So we've got agencies from around the world who have set up in Kenya, providing surrogacy, but without regulation, unfortunately, there is that risk of exploitation of women.
Great, and on that note, we take a short breather. We'll be back with more right after the break. Welcome back, and on our back home segment, we bring you investment opportunities under the National Cooperatives Housing Union. Take a look. Kenyans living and working abroad invest millions of shillings back home annually into various sectors, including the real estate, and some of them are using housing cooperatives to own homes in their motherland. The timing couldn't be better, given that over the years, the number of housing cooperatives with the aim of supporting Kenyans to own homes has increased. This is evidenced by the milestones made by the umbrella body of the housing cooperatives known as the National Union for Housing Cooperatives, NACHU, that was formed in 1979.
Among the key people who thought they need to have such an organization is actually the Kenya government, the Ogutu, as you know it, those many years back, and the leaders of the cooperative movement. They realized that more people are moving from the rural environment to urban areas, and they were facing serious housing shortage in the country. And they feel that there will be a need to have a national organization that can play a critical role. Among them, for example, to give technical advice to housing cooperatives who may have a major goal of at least owning their own homes in Nairobi. That's how it was actually formed, and was also supported by the USA government in a big way, because they used to pay salaries for the workers.
NACHU has over 850 affiliate members across the country in Nairobi, Kisumu, Kakamega, Nakuru, Nanyuki, and Nyeri. It has delivered more than 2,000 housing units in the last 5 years. This is in line with President Uhuru Kenyatta's affordable housing component of the Big Four agenda of providing at least 500,000 adequate, standardized, well-spaced and affordable housing units by the year 2022.
Our key target group are actually low and middle income. This includes mama boga, boda, teachers, people working in the SMEs, and also people working with the government. Those are the target groups currently, and we are happy with that group. And the reason why we are in that area, it came out very clearly from our membership that most of them are in that particular category. Housing is a big challenge in our country, in that as a country, in urban areas, we are already having a shortage of over 2 million house units. These houses should have been there, but they're not there by now. And the annual demand for housing in our country is actually over 200,000 per year. Yet, all the key stakeholders, we only put only 50,000 units.
One of NACHU's land projects is Riverine Ridges in Ruiru, Kiambu County. Here, it owns 428 acres of land that is being sold in various sizes from 1/8 to 1/4, half an acre, and 1 acre. Didis Kirinya is one of the owners of a plot here. His plan is to put up a home.
I chose this place because it's more accessible. That is, we have the Thika Superhighway behind us. It's 4 kilometers, approximately 4 kilometers to here. When you come to the site, there is available amenities. That is, for example, electricity, water. We even have a school here. So it's a very good place to invest. I chose NACHU because they are doing a legit business. You know, nowadays there is a lot of conmanship, but with NACHU, you are guaranteed there is no conmanship. You will just have your plot as you bought it. And they have done other previous projects. You just do a background check on NACHU before I invested with them.
NACHU's beneficiaries is open to everyone across all walks of lives. They include people in informal employment, rural cooperatives associated with agricultural marketing cooperatives, middle-income earners, and informal settlement dwellers with irregular incomes. Its mandate is to empower low and middle-income communities, especially in the urban poor, to realize adequate housing and quality of life on a sustainable basis.
Affordable housing can be divided in many ways. One way to look at it, maybe based on the Kenya Affordable Housing Program, if a developer put up a house where the price range is approximately Kenya shillings, let's say 1 million to 4 million Kenya shillings, within that particular range, from what you call the studio to a 3-bedroom house in the urban areas, that house can be called affordable house. A house between 1 million to a maximum of 4 million, from a bed-sitter all the way to a 3-bedroom house. That's what we can call affordable house in our country definition, and that's where we are in.
Joyce Nyambura is busy inspecting a plot of land she recently bought at the Riverine Ridges in Ruiru. According to Nyambura, the process of purchasing the piece of land was smooth, fast, and transparent, ideal for both local and diaspora investors.
Vile nilikuja kujua hii project ya Riverine Ridges, nilielezewa na rafiki. Alikuwa pia amenunua plot hapa. Baada ya kufanya utafiti ya ile kazi NACHU wamekuwa wakifanya, nikajua ni watu wamekuwa kwa hii sekta ya kuuza mashamba na ni watu wako na biashara safi.
This is one of the beacons for a quarter.
After kuelezewa mambo ya NACHU, nilienda kwa ofisi yao, nikapatana na staff wa NACHU na wakanisaidia vile naweza nunua plot hapa Riverine. They are very welcoming, waliguide vizuri, nilifurahia services zao. Vile nimenunua plot hapa Riverine, kitu ya kwanza nimefurahia sana na niko na mpango ya kujenga, na tuko kwa mazungumzo na NACHU ndio wani finance niweze kujenga, Tayari wako na whole technical team yao, watu wa kujenga wamenisaidia na plans. Sasa tuko katika harakati za kumalizia mambo ya financing. I'm a happy client.
Currently we are having ongoing projects. Number one, we have a housing project in Iliruta where we are putting 100 housing units, and they'll be paid for the rental. We want to help government in that area that people can also be able to get high quality houses at a very affordable renting pricing. We are also having another project in Athrifa. We call it Prestige project, where you are putting 1,600 houses, and these are purely affordable housing project which have got the support of the Kenya government. The price of the houses will be between Kenya shillings 2 million to 4 million. Very high quality houses, but the price is low deliberately because the focus is not to make a lot of profit, but to ensure as many Kenyans of middle class will be able to have houses.
The National Union for Housing Cooperatives in Kenya has also worked with various stakeholders and institutions towards meeting the dreams of many Kenyans. It remains an integral union in addressing the housing gaps, both in formal and informal settlements.
Kenya being a leading cooperative country and having members of cooperative in our country, there are over 12 million in our country. So we have a body called CAK, that's the mother for the movement, but NACHU also works very closely with the CAK. It works very closely with the KUSCO, who is now the mother of all the circles. We also work directly with the circles wherever they require our services. Indeed, as a part of the Big Four agenda, NACHU played a very critical role in the housing policy in our country by giving our own input. We were able to bring all the circles and invest cooperatives, housing cooperatives who have got land, for example, in the bigger Nairobi metropolitan. And we got surprised that our members in this area, they had over 100,000 plots in the neighborhood. So we are working closely with the movement across, and also with the Kenya government in a big way, through the Ministry of Housing, and also through our mother ministry, the Ministry of Cooperative.
When we say an aid, it starts from here to the other side where you can see our officer, and it's very easy for you to measure.
Vile naweza sema, ni vizuri kuinvest mtu akiwa young, when you're still energetic, na uinvest na the right people kama NACHU. One of the advantages ya kuwa hapa riverine ridges ni kuwa it's a controlled development, kuna security, kuna hospitali, pia kuna police station and so much more. So riverine ridges, it's the place to be.
Great investment opportunities there. And before we wind up the show, a quick mention here. The Innovation Hub or Innovation Studio that was launched by Visa in Nairobi recently, the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, is already operational. The studio is meant for incubating the next generation of commerce experiences in Africa, and interested organizations can reach Visa through the email on the screen. Nice. Wow, this show always appears to run so fast, but we have to end it there. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the online version of this series and our other inspiring, informative and entertaining productions. And on behalf of my entire team at Chams Media, many thanks for watching and see you again next time.
Daring Abroad is brought to you by our friends at Remitly. Download the Remitly app to send money back home.